arms and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Hi everyone, Bungo Bob here, and we are today at Acorn again, as you've probably seen, and we are on peg 33. The other week, when the last video, we were on peg 4, which is a little bit closer to the flyers, to be honest, or the flyers at the moment anyway. 33, we're sort of on the same arm, but further to the right. There's only one peg in to my right, and that is 31, which is an M peg. Which has had some good form, to be honest, of recent. And then there's 34 on my left, and as I say, 31 is the peg, M peg down on my right. So the usual start, they're very scatty across. Couldn't really sort them out last time. I've chatted to people after the match, chatted to people since, and it seems to be the same for a lot of people. Yeah, they're just very skittish at the moment, especially since the work been done. I think they just swim through, to be honest. They don't really like stopping. You put in a bit of bait, they stop, have a quick look, shouldn't touch your line or anything like that, and they're gone. Yeah, very skittish. Priming a little line there, down a short line on our left, next to the bridge, that can be good. The only worry is here for me is the last match we fished, as you've probably seen, we caught well late down the edge. And here really we've only got the one edge to the right. To the left here, when the bridges are sort of a lot of concrete and posts and such in close. The line you can see me fishing there is probably more like 3.5 foot deep, so not really an edge as such, but can be good. So we're just throwing a few pellets, just loosely there to the left, not much, just a little bit of pellet, just seeing if we can get one or two fish interested. Across we've started with micros and expanders. That always used to be the way to go. It hasn't been the last time I came down, but we're starting on that. But I've got it in my mind to go to hard pellets if it gets good, and I've got it in my mind to go to ground bait and maggots if it's the opposite and it's hard. It's been a difficult start, to be honest. I caught nothing. I've spent sort of 30 minutes across and just didn't catch anything in the mouth at all. So just giving it a rest across there now. And we've just hooked our first fish, properly hooked it here on the left, down the inside. Across we have plumbed up one rig against the boards in the shallowest water, and then we've also plumbed a rig to the left of the bridge, just off the boards, and it sort of slopes away coming back towards me, and I've picked a line there sort of a little bit deeper, just to see if that would make any more secure really. So we're just trying that slightly deeper line now. And we're fishing that with a hard pellet rig. It's a little bit too deep for me to be cad potting micros in there. Don't really want to be doing that. I don't want to sort of liners, foul hookers. I mean, we've had that right up next to the boards in really shallow water, so I don't fancy that in this slightly deeper water at all. So that rig I'm using across there is a 0.2. I think I've got about 3 or 4, maybe 4 number 11s or something like that below it, or number 10s. I think it's number 11s. 4 number 11s, and because it's quite shallow across there, not as shallow against the boards, but fairly shallow. It's just a 3-inch hook length of 014 and a size 20 LWG PTFE guru hook, eyed with a microband. And we got one, a proper little carp now. So that's a bit of a settler. Gone back to the same line, seeing if there's any more. Cut a bit of film out mine, so we have had to wait a little while, but it's looking a little bit more promising than right against the board, isn't it? Use your white hydro in. They're not massive fish on the bridges, and there's other species as well. As you've probably seen last week, you can catch skimmers, there's tench, there's F1s, and there is the little Carasio things as well. And I just think fishing in such shallow water, you don't want everything breaking surface as soon as you hook it. So I just think soft elastic again is the way to go. We're not in complete summer yet. The water's still that funny colour as well. It's very dark, but it doesn't look sort of dark from fish movement. It's hard to explain really. I just think it's from all the rainwater and that we've had. And the fish has really got to break surface before you can see exactly where it is. So it's hard to scoop any early fish really. Sort of scoop them early, under the surface like you can. That's pretty difficult. Add another odd one across, but it's slow. I'm starting to wish now I'd brought some maggots, to be honest. I did go in the shop to buy a couple of pints of maggots, because near a bridge you can throw them in on that sort of that inside line you see me feeding with the old pellet, and you can have a couple of rigs, one sort of light strung out off the bottom for silvers and all sorts, and also you can catch obviously on the deck, and you can catch a lot of silvers and that, and I'm sort of regretting not buying those couple of pints of maggots now. I did go in the buy them, and I was sort of advised to buy some corn, but yeah, I wish I hadn't listened to that, to be honest. You know who you are if you're watching. But there is a lot of silvers in here. Really, really lots of silvers. So we finally just hooked one on the boards, incredibly. We're on maggot and ground bait to the boards now. We can't get any sense of pellets and that. There's just not enough fish in front of me to compete to want that. I don't know if anybody else is catching on pellets around the rest of the lake. They possibly are on the sort of around the sort of hot areas, sort of 5 and 9 and such. I don't know, but we're certainly not making any sense on them. Still looking to feed pellets on that little bit of a deeper line though. That one is about 2 foot just over, slightly to the left across. And the sun's coming out. That's got to be good, hasn't it? So I primed me inside a little while ago, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, we've hooked one down there. We're well into the match now, though. I've actually stopped feeding that left-hand line that's close. I was feeding by hand to the bridge. It's just not happening at all. I had a little baby tench on it, and the tiniest carp in Somerset, and yeah, not really catching anything else on it. So I've stopped priming that. Feeding it for a couple of hours, a waste of time. So I'm hopeful of this edge. I always thought I was going to catch down the edge late. The only trouble is I've only really got the one edge there down to the right. So how long I can sit on it and keep them coming before they back away again, and where do I go afterwards, really? That's the thing. You always want, if you can, 2 lines to catch from. So as you can see, I've actually gone a top kit and a short 4 in front of me, and it's still a good depth. I've probably got about 3.5, maybe even 4 foot there. So since they desilted the place, it is quite deep. I mean, out in the middle now, you've got 6 foot. In some pegs, I've been told you've got 7. So it's going to be great in the winter. But yeah, we've hooked something now on that short line, which is terrific news. Just throwing a few pellets in, a couple of pieces of corn. Feels quite weighty, this. I've just had a glimpse of it, and I think it's a big tench. Yeah, lovely fish. There's lots and lots of them in here. The people who fish for silvers here, if they're on the right pegs, they generally catch 4 or 5 of them during a match. You know, you get sort of 20 to 30 pound of just big tench, as well as all your skimmers and your roach and perch and everything else. Funnily enough, the perch have just spawned down here, I think, because I've noticed I've caught 1 or 2 perch down the edge here on the right as well. And normally when they're on the inside like that, it's normally a case that they just spawned. And I've seen a little bit of splashing here and there, and that's a nice perch there now. But seen a bit of splashing here and there, and it's definitely not carp. So once again, we're sort of pushed back down to our right edge. I'm really having to catch down there and milk that line for all it's worth, if you like. I've not had anything else on that short line in front of me. I had that one big tench, a couple of little fish, and that's been about it. I keep feeding it though, just so I got somewhere else to go if I do need to rest it. We're catching down the edge, and it's a bit deeper than when we were on peg 4 the other day. I think on peg 4 I probably had about 20 inches. I think on this one I've probably got more like 28 inches. So yeah, over 2 foot. Bit of a surprise that, and I'm feeding it with ground bait and micros, 50-50 in a cab pot, and a few dead maggots on the hook. Fish here now. We'll catch one. I'll be lucky to get a second one. That's the trouble. Yeah, I've seen that. We're having to wait on these bites. Remember, I am cutting a bit of time out, but at least I am catching proper carp down there. So still a bit of time to go in the match. And but I've been looking to me left down towards peg sort of 5 and such. I can't, not looking all around, but I can see 5 because that's sort of straight off to my left. Quite a renowned peg, and they've caught really well. So I'm thinking we're way off the pace, to be honest. Once again down here. And I'm going to have to change my name soon if I don't start drawing, because I used to be a bit of a bungo, believe it or not, but at the moment I can't draw for toffee. But when you're in these situations like this and you feel like, well, you know, I'm way behind, you just got to try and do what you can, and obviously enjoy your fishing, which is what it's all about. But what I try and do as well is enjoy it, but experiment a little bit. You're still in a match situation, so you can try different things with feeding and such. So with this fish I just had, I actually put neat micro down the edge with some maggots. It didn't attract the fish so quickly, but I didn't see any not as many sort of tail patterns and such when the fish came in. It was just a nice little dink, nice, dig on the float and a nice clean bite. So I'm sticking with the micros for a bit, and I've decided now I'm gonna see if it picks up any better with just micros and maggots. And if it doesn't, or it goes quiet, I can start putting in ground bait to draw the fish again. I've also tried worm, but it hasn't been no quicker, and the fish haven't been no bigger, to be honest. It's been more or less the same. Beautiful day though, and a really nicely kept fishery, Acorn. Their tackle shop now is absolutely superb. I mean, you come down here and you get served by the lovely Zoe, or the one and only Des Ship. He's always there for advice as well. So very nice fishery. And those micros seem to be working a treat. I just think that a little bit deeper, that just makes a little bit more sense. Down the edge we're fishing a .4 float, 3-inch hook length, about an inch on the deck, and we're not messing about with that really. On the 3-inch hook length is 0.16, and the hooks are size 16, B911, and that .4 takes 5 number 8s, and those 5 number 8s are all pushed together right above that 3-inch hook length. So it's a nice positive rig. You want a nice positive rig when you're fishing, anything like ground bait or micros down the edge, because of liners and that. It needs to be nice and positive. You don't want the float flying underneath the water all the time every time a fish turns or waves its tail, or lines you. You want a nice bulk down, and when they pick up the bait, they feel that weight and panic for that split second, and that's how you want it, just nice and positive. I've had a couple just, even though it's not bagging by a long shot, but I've had a couple just rip the elastic out. Still feeding that little bit of bait in front. Still trying to have a sort of second line. If I could just find somewhere else to be, half as consistent as my edge is, I could just leave that edge and maybe catch 2 down the edge and 1 off my other line, back down the edge, etc. But it's just not happening. I can't seem to find anywhere else to catch. But it's a nice, lovely, enjoyable day. Beautiful bit of sunshine. Good bunch come down here as well. Always very competitive. And everybody meets for breakfast just along the road. The bridge in. There's a cracking breakfast in there. Lots of small fish, but nice little weight builders. Great sport. Something I've noticed, so I'm going to have to get some longer legs again in the front of my box, so as I can put my foot plate just over the edge. I think putting your foot plate just over the edge and extending those legs will make a massive difference here in the summer with them boards, because you can then just look down that edge that little bit easier and be able to pull your float right into them boards, so the fish can't get up behind it, and then you can pot your empty your cab pot just in front of it. And I think that's going to be critical here when it really starts warming up. And you got to get right in tight there, and you can't quite do it as easily with when you're just sat on the bank sort of thing. You just want those front legs just over the edge. I'm still priming the short line, but it never really happened. I tried it every now and then. I've not bothered to show you that because it's just been a waste of time. But so we're just emptying our pot there. All the cab pots I use for ground bait, micros, etc., that sort of bait, I've drilled holes in. If they didn't have hose in already, I drilled some in there. That way you just dunk the pot down. You dunk the pot down and let the water get in behind it, and it just releases much easier, releases in one sort of blob, so it gets down to the bottom nice and quick, rather than you don't really want to sort of make a line of bait going down as such, or a column, because it's easier for fish to move into it in foul hook. One other little bit of advice as well is when I net my fish, as you can see, I generally hold my top kit quite high. As you can see, I do that with all fish because it tends to keep your line off the rim of the landing net. That's where a lot of the wear and tear comes from, especially when you start catching a few fish. So try and remember that, and try and keep your top kits up in the air when you've landed those fish. Well, we're not long from the end of the match now, and as we thought, we were well off the pace. Good mate Gareth won from peg 6. He's had 218 pound. Forgive me if I'm wrong, Gareth, but I think if it's 218 pound. Both of us were looking at that peg before the match as well, with the wind blowing in there, and we quite fancied it. We were discussing how we fished it, and and he drew it. So fair play to him. Good angler. And second, I think, was peg 5. They've had 180 pounds. And then there was 160. I think he pays Chris pays down to about top 5, but you wanted just under 150 to get top 5, and I've ended up with 88 pounds. But lovely days fishing. Pool to my left had 70 pounds, and the chap on my right on the end peg had 107 pounds.